When you sit down to tap, what's your goal? And I know that seems like a silly question because we're sitting down to tap because we want to feel better. And previously, we even talked about the value of framing our transformation in terms of feeling better. But I think we need to go a step further than that, because when we sit down to tap, no two issues are exactly alike. And so today what we're going to do is we're going to talk about how I have changed my thinking about how I approach the tool of tapping and how that change has made it easier for me to get even more out of every round of tapping. This is Monterastelli, and welcome to the Tapping Q&A podcast recorded live to tape from Williamsburg in Brooklyn. This is episode 596, originally aired January 31st, 2024. Hi, everyone. I hope this finds you well wherever you are and whatever time of day you're getting a chance to spend with me. Thanks for showing up and listening along. So one of the biggest changes that has happened in my approach to transformation in the last couple of years is how I have defined the tool of tapping. And in changing that definition, what it does is it changes the way I approach every single moment of transformation. Now, as we dive into this, if you are new to tapping, all you need to do is follow the little red arrow in the upper right-hand corner, click on the link, and it'll take you to learntotap.com. It will give you all of the basics so you can understand this amazing tool that we are talking about that I use every single day, that I use with my clients, and I know it will make a difference in your life. So the big change that I have made as I think about tapping is I no longer think of tapping as an approach, but instead I think of tapping as a tool. And this is what I mean by that. And let's use a different analogy to talk about tool versus approach, and then we'll apply it to tapping. So a cutting edge is a tool. And a cutting edge can do lots of things. A cutting edge can cut your dinner. A cutting edge can cut a piece of twine. A cutting edge can mow your grass. A cutting edge can delicately cut sushi or do surgery or carve a pipe out of a piece of wood. Tapping has made that transition in my mind. It has gone from an application to a tool which is going to have different applications depending on the setting and the context that I'm in. And the reason why I think this is so valuable is what it does is if I understand the application, then I understand what I'm trying to achieve. And when I understand what I'm trying to achieve, it's going to, one, help me to understand how to use tapping in the specific moment. And number two, what it's going to do is it's going to shape the way I evaluate the session. Because, I do not evaluate a cut when I'm just trying to cut a box open or I'm delicately trying to cut vegetables to be cooked. Like I don't evaluate those. I don't have the same amount of attention. I don't do them in the exact same way because the outcome is really different. And if I have a singular way I am defining success every single time I sit down to tap, then that becomes really, really hard because the outcomes are really, really different. So let me give you a list of approaches that I like to think about and use. So the first approach is an emotional first aid approach. This is when I am just trying to change my emotions in the moment. It is the middle of the workday and I am frustrated, I am overwhelmed, I'm disappointed, I'm something. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to just change my emotional resource state so I can be present to what is going on. Or I've had something really, really bad happen, and I'm just trying to find a baseline so I can respond to it. So all I'm trying to do is change the way I feel in the moment, which is different than trying to clear resistance. When I'm trying to clear resistance, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to set myself up to be able to take an action. Another approach is to eliminate or transform a limiting belief. I could be using tapping to reduce pain. I could use tapping to enhance my health. I could use tapping to go and work on a complex trauma and clear something really horrible from my past. Now you'll notice in all of these circumstances, every single one of those approaches is going to make me feel better. But there's a difference in feeling better between getting over frustration in a moment and clearing a childhood trauma. And not only is there a difference in the goal, there's a difference in the approach. There's a difference in the context. In the middle of a workday, it's appropriate for me to do 90 seconds of tapping and find my way back to ground. Where there's absolutely no way, unless I absolutely had to do it, would I be going after a big childhood trauma in the middle of my workday. Because I know what the amount of time it takes for me to do that sort of work, and how I feel afterwards. And so it's not just about what's going on in the moment, but it's the setting that is there. And I am going to evaluate how much progress I have made differently when I'm doing emotional first aid versus when I'm trying to clear a childhood trauma. Because the evaluation of emotional first aid is being able to handle what is next. The evaluation of dealing with a childhood trauma might be my relationships at writ large in something really, really big. And so when we start to transition the definition of how we think of ourselves or how we think of the approach, it gives us a different way to engage with tapping. So one thing that I have never done is I have never called myself a tapper. Instead, I am someone who is trying to achieve particular goals that is using tapping to do that. And that's not to criticize anybody who calls themselves a tapper, but for me, that's a tool to help me to understand what I am doing. My goal is not to sit down and tap. My goal is to feel better. And inside of feeling better, depending on what is going on in my life, depending on how much time I have, depending on the context, what better is going to be shaped dramatically by what is in front of me in the moment. So that is how I think about tapping as a tool, not as an approach, and how in thinking in those ways, it makes it so much easier for me to get more out of my tapping. So this is what I would encourage you to do. The next time you sit down to tap, don't just think I want to feel better. Don't just think I want to reduce the pain. Draw a little box around it if you can. Now, sometimes we're so emotionally distressed, we can't be thinking about this and we're just trying to feel better. But if you're in a moment where you're like, okay, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to tap on this thing because I want to feel better, name the approach that you are using. Is it emotional first aid? Is it clearing a limiting belief? And you can do multiple ones in a single session. But I think by doing this, what this is going to enable you to do is it's going to help you to focus how you use tapping, and it's going to make you focused on what you tap on, which is going to create a better result for you. If you are interested in figuring out new applications specifically in how to create an authentic life, and if you're watching this about the time that it comes out, starting February 12th, we are doing a 5-day authentic action challenge where I'm going to be sharing all sorts of tapping approaches to help you to create authentic action in your life. All you need to do is go to tappingqanda.com/5-day to get all of the information every single day for a week. I'm going to be sharing new trainings and new tools on how you can use tapping in that particular way. If you look on the screen right now, you will see all sorts of amazing tapping tools. Click on the next video, subscribe to the channel, watch, follow along, so it's easier for you to get more out of your tapping. Until next time, I'll talk to you real soon. Bye-bye.